right, everyone. It's about 4 past the hour, so we'll get going here. Hi, my name is Allison Groves, and I have the privilege of taking care of our community here at Zapier. And today we're really excited to talk about one of our favorite subjects here at Zapier, email marketing and automating that with our friends over at AWeber. And so I'd like to introduce you to Sam. Sam from AWeber. How's it going, Sam?
Good. How are you doing today, Allison?
Good, good. Before we get too into things here, just one little housekeeping note. If you scroll down just a little bit past this video, you'll see a chat room there. And my buddy Joe, who works with me at Zapier, is on hand. He is our resident email marketing automation expert. So any questions that you might have as Sam and I are kind of talking through some of this stuff, just pop them in the chat room and Joe will be more than happy to take care of those for you. And then we'll hang around after we're done here and we'll answer any questions for as long as we need to once we're done. So now we got that out of the way. Sam, before we kind of really dive into things, I'd love it if you could spend a minute or two telling us a little bit about AWeber for those who might not be familiar, or maybe you've got some newer AWeber users that are with us today. So maybe just a little bit of background on AWeber would be awesome.
Okay, yeah, AWeber is obviously an email marketing service provider. You can use us to automate the messages that you send to those subscribers who sign up to your mailing list. So I see a lot of people using this more as a way to kind of keep in touch with the people, kind of reinforce their brand on an ongoing basis. It's a way to kind of streamline, your contact with your customer or, your promotion of your product. And you can do that through autoresponders, follow-up messages, newsletters, anything like that. It's kind of just a way to present yourself to the world a little bit more automated without having to go and manually email each one of your friends.
Yeah, and I know that we are big advocates of anything you can do email marketing wise, especially as it relates to the things that we're going to talk about here today. Because we're pretty aware that so much of building and cultivating and curating your list that you have when you're doing any form of email marketing is the fact that you have a lot of that data in other applications. So whether it's your CRM or you have a form on your website, you're doing an event, maybe you're doing any kind of e-commerce, there's so much of that data that's out there. And to really sort of bridge that gap between that data and doing that sort of great continued marketing via email with your users or your customers or whatever that might be. Sometimes that's a little difficult. In the past you'd have to, do that by hand and get each individual email address wherever it might be from one app to the other. So what we're going to cover today are three sort of different use cases where you can actually automate that data. So instead of you having to go into AWeber and add any of those contacts that you might have by hand, we're going to kind of go through a couple of those ways where you can do that automatically with the help of Zapier and not have to worry about it again and watch your email list grow, and then you can focus on sending those emails, crafting those emails, etc. So I'm going to share my screen here and we'll just hop right into it.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So Sam, the first thing I'd love to tackle is I think one of the most popular use cases we could ever have for growing your email list, and that's using forms, whether it's lead generation or anything like that. What do you guys over at AWeber see people using forms for as it relates to, creating and growing your lists as it relates to email marketing?
Well, sign-up forms are really, if you think about it, the core way that these people are going to get on your list. It's a way to kind of give them the option to hear from you on a more consistent basis, because we all go to thousands of sites every day. Well, not every day, but we try and kind of browse the internet on a regular basis, and it's kind of hard to keep up if you're just going to each site and saying, oh well, this is something that's new here. I really liked that my friend here just had a new product that he's launching. It's a new ebook. He wants, to promote that. And if I missed that necessarily on a blog post, if I've signed up to the list, I can get that through email, and then it's going to be a little bit more of a direct connection. Like I can go to their site and see that they've updated everything. But if I receive that email, it's more of like a daily and instant reminder of, I signed up to kind of get some more information, and here's my new ebook. If you're interested, please let me know.
Yeah, so any sort of lead generation or way that you would want to capture data on your website, forms are really the best and easiest way to do that. And so, as that relates to Zapier, what we're looking at here is what we call a Zap. So if we take a step back and look at the bigger picture of Zapier, like I said earlier, Zapier can kind of help you bridge the gap between one app and another to automate that data so that you don't have to worry about doing that yourself. I know that especially as it relates to anything with growing your list, there's so many different ways that you can capture email addresses, and we're going to go through a couple of those here today. In the past, you might have to literally go into AWeber and manually enter each email address and name at a time. And now with the help of something like Zapier, you actually don't have to do that anymore. So what we're looking at here is a way that you can automate that form to go right over into AWeber and create that subscriber without you having to do a thing. So basically what we're looking at here is we're saying anytime anyone fills out my form, and in this example, we're using Wufoo, which is a really popular form builder. You can build some really, really great and easy forms. In fact, when you signed up for this session today, that was actually a Wufoo form that you were filling out. So basically what we're saying here is anytime anyone fills out this form, whether that's for an ebook or any other sort of, like Sam said there, any other sort of way that you're capturing information on your website, Zapier can help you automatically create that subscriber without you having to do it yourself. So that's what we're looking at here, and that's kind of what we mean here with what you're looking at. So the very first thing I need to do is say, what do I want to happen? So here, again, I'm saying when anyone fills out my form, I want to create a subscriber on AWeber. And from there, we just need to do a couple of extra things. We need to connect our accounts so we know what account we're talking to, what account we're looking at, so we can get your data. So we'll connect our Wufoo account, which we've done, and our AWeber account, which we've done. And then it's just a couple more steps from there. So I need to tell the automation, what form do I want to look at? So I'm basically saying, what form do I want to say anytime someone have a new entry here, those are the people that I want to go over to AWeber. So I've selected the form here, again, the exact same form that you used when you signed up for the session today. And then I just need to pop in a couple of things for AWeber. So I've got to select my account ID and my list ID. Sam, can you give any insight into accounts and lists, or do you think they're pretty straightforward as it relates to AWeber?
Well, it's really, if you think about it, the account is your hub. It's where you're going to keep all of the information on all of the different products or services that you're offering to your subscribers. So the list is more of a way to designate what particular products. So as I mentioned earlier about an ebook, I have a new ebook that's available. I have my ebook list that I can then sign up people, and they'll receive information on just the ebook. And say I have, a different ebook, or maybe a white paper or something like those lines that people can sign up for as well. I can kind of keep those separate. So I can have my ebook list and my white paper list, and they're, you're able to have both together and market to them separately.
Yeah, so a great example here would be saying, maybe you have a particular form that matches up to a particular list. So again, like Sam was just saying, if you've got a specific form that people are filling out to get your ebook, you would select that form here, and then you could just match that up to the list where you would want those people who filled out that form to go onto that specific list. So those are the kind of two main things that you need to select there. It's very, very straightforward. You will have named your own list, so you'll be able to find it in this drop down. Very, very simple. And then the last step here is to just click on insert fields, and that's actually going to match up data from your form and send it over to the right spot in AWeber. So basically what we're saying here is I'm going to match up the email address that's coming over from the form to the subscriber. So now I know exactly that I have the email address of that subscriber, And I can even, if my form has it, I can get the name of that subscriber. And then there's a couple of custom fields that we have here. You can tell that we were having a little bit of fun with this particular list as we were playing around in AWeber. But if you have any custom fields, you can also match those up. So you can just click on Insert Fields here, and that's going to bring the data over from your form to match up to your list, and then you'll be good to go. And now with that done, and you see how little time that takes in just a few clicks, now anytime anyone fills out your form, they're going to automatically be added to that list that you specify in AWeber, and you'll be able to grow that list without really having to do anything, because the form is set, the automation is set, and you can go about working on all the other things that you might need to be working on. And I know that we looked at Wufoo here, which is a pretty popular form application, but there's a ton of different form applications you can use. If you use Google Forms, that actually outputs into a Google Sheet, and you can connect that. Typeform, Gravity Forms, Jotform, Unbounce if you're building like more robust landing pages. There's a ton of different stuff you can do here. So don't feel like if you don't use Wufoo, you can't automate that data, because chances are if there's a form that you use, in fact, I think we added 2 or 3 different form applications to Zapier just this month. Cognito Forms, Planso Forms. So lots and lots of different options here. So anything that you see here, you can connect to AWeber and you can get that automation going. So that's a pretty popular thing that we see people do. And another really, really big thing we see people do, Sam, is connecting their e-commerce platforms to AWeber. Any cool things you've seen people do in that world?
Yeah, actually, I have a few friends of mine who are musicians, and getting started marketing in that way can be kind of a bear, because you're setting up. You have to get your music, you have to practice, you have to find gigs, and then once you start making a name for yourself, you need to have a little bit more time to market to those people because they enjoy your music and they want to hear more from you. But say a friend of mine had a new EP that had come out and was looking for a way to kind of get that information out there. He had his mailing list, which people would sign up for just pen and paper on the at the gigs, but he would also have a website that he would provide to people. Said, hey, if you go to this on your mobile device, you can go ahead and just sign up for my mailing list right away, and I will shoot you over any new information. You can even purchase my new EP there directly. So the people who would purchase the EP would then be able to be added to the list without having to sign up and go through the whole rigmarole of filling out their name and email, because they're making that purchase. They want to hear more from you. So it's kind of a way to provide the content that those people are looking for, as well as have them join your mailing list and keep in contact with them for upcoming sales or events like that.
Yeah, I think one of the big missing pieces as far as it comes to e-commerce or selling anything online is I think a lot of people feel that once that sale is made, that their relationship with that buyer is over. But to me, and I'm sure to you guys too, because you probably see this all the time, that's actually the time when the relationship should start, So any way you can connect any sort of sales that you're doing, or we like to just think of them as flat out e-commerce. Any way that you can connect your e-commerce tools to your email list, you can actually start automating autoresponders and other sorts of email campaigns to those people after they buy your product. And you can kind of keep them in your group, in your family. So in that band example, you want to keep those fans. And if they just make the purchase and go away, you've missed that opportunity to really sort of engage them and keep in touch with them. So, what we're looking at here is a perfect example of a way for you to do that. So, any sort of e-commerce sale that you make, you can actually turn that into a subscriber on any AWeber list that you have. So we're looking at a e-commerce platform here called Gumroad, which is actually really, really cool for self-publishers and musicians and things like that. But we have plenty of others that we'll look at here in a bit. And just like the form example, the automation is exactly the same. So we're basically, again, saying anytime I get a new sale on my e-commerce software, I want to add those people to a list because I want to keep corresponding with them. And like I said, the setup is just exactly the same. We've got to connect that e-commerce account. We've got to connect our AWeber account if it isn't already. And then as it relates to Gumroad, if we're looking at this specifically, and a lot of the other e-commerce tools are like this too, we can actually really segment the way that we add people to lists. So with Gumroad, you can actually trigger on a specific product. So maybe you have 3 or 4 different products and they're vastly different, and you would actually want those people in different lists. Well, you can set up an automation for each one of those products and direct those people right into the list that you might want them to be in. So you can send them really targeted messaging after they've purchased your product, because you know that the people who purchased this specific product are ending up on this specific list. So if we're selling our free hugs, which is the fun thing that we're selling on Gumroad, we can come down here just a little bit, and just like the Wufoo example, we can select our account, and then if we want to get that particular product onto a specific list, all we need to do is select that list. We can click on Insert Fields here. That's going to bring over that data from Gumroad. We can match up the email address, the name, etc. And now we're always going to have that particular person who purchased that product in this specific list, and I can constantly email them, do whatever I might want to, communicate with them in a really targeted way, and hopefully keep them a part of what I'm doing, and most hopefully a return purchaser. So we were looking at Gumroad, but there's a wealth of apps that we connect with as well, just like the forms. Shopify is a big one, Magento, BigCommerce, Chargeify is another one. So there's quite a bit you can do here if you're doing any sort of e-commerce. We also have a PayPal integration. So if you were using PayPal to sell things, you could connect that directly to AWeber. So again, tons and tons of potential there. And the final thing that we want to touch on is actually kind of flipping what we've been looking on its head, and taking new subscribers from AWeber and actually sending them out to other apps. And I think events is probably a really cool thing to talk about. And Sam, I'd love to hear things that you guys see people doing as it relates to like having new subscribers in AWeber and actually sending them or using them in other spaces.
We see that a lot when people have their sites set up with a form to, add people to a certain list. Like, hey, sign up for more information on upcoming events or something like that. And that's a very popular form that they're going to have on the site. And then when people actually sign up, they're like, hey, I would love to have more information on your events. You can kind of have that go to either your GoToWebinar or even your CRM. It's a way to get the hands all talking to one another. So you're having, AWeber, people are signing up for your mailing list, and then you can automatically add them to, in this case, GoToWebinar. So they can then sign up for, your next webinar, your upcoming. They'll know when that's going to be happening, so that, there's no kind of disconnect between your mailing list and your offered events, because the events are in itself something that you have to plan, something that you have to do marketing for. And if people are already signing up for your mailing list to receive more information, it's really easy and really streamlined to have them go directly to that and just kind of cut out the middleman.
Yeah. And you can even, if you wanted to get crazy, you could even sort of chain a couple of these automations together. So if you had people filling out a form on your website, that could actually, like the first example we looked at, trigger and create a new subscriber in AWeber. And then if you set up something like this, once that new subscriber is created, it will then automatically create a registrant and GoToWebinar. That's almost like Zapier 201, but there are creative ways that you could chain a couple of these events together so that you create that new subscriber, and then that new subscriber in turn creates something else. But I think that, these events are a really perfect example of how you can actually use that list that you're building to your advantage. And just like Sam said, so if you've got an AWeber form or any other type of form that creates that new subscriber, you can actually just turn around and create a GoToWebinar registrant right from that new subscriber, which is really, really handy because not only are you building your list, you are also sort of building up these events that you're doing as well. So this looks, like I said, exactly the same, except in this specific example, we're basically flipping it. So we're not creating the new subscriber, we're actually using the new subscriber as a trigger. So anytime I have a new subscriber in AWeber, it is going to then create the registrant. So just an inverse of what we've been looking at earlier, but everything else works exactly the same. We've got our accounts connected. Step 4 is where we set up what we want to look for in AWeber. So maybe we want to only trigger off of a certain list. So if I get new subscribers on a certain list, then that will create my registrant and go to webinar. And I can pick that webinar. Again, I can match up the name, the email address, and that's automatically going to create that registrant in GoToWebinar. So it's just another way where you can even match specific lists that you have to specific events that you're wanting to throw, whether it's a webinar, a meeting, an in-person event, etc. And it's just, again, a very, very easy, streamlined way to do this. So instead of you having to do this all by hand, the automation will do that for you. And quickly to touch on events here, I know we're running a little short on time. If you don't use GoToWebinar, maybe you want to create someone in Eventbrite or Meetup. We've got a couple of other. TicketBud is a great ticketing system. So lots and lots of different options when you're getting those new subscribers in AWeber to connect them over to some sort of event. And as far as AWeber goes in Zapier, just wanted to quickly kind of touch on everything that you can do because we really scratched the surface here. But like we were talking about earlier, we've got triggers and actions. So the actions we saw a lot of. So you can create subscribers from just about any app you might want to, as long as you have an email address, and you can use that app to create those subscribers over in AWeber. But we've got a couple of triggers here too. So if you want to take your AWeber data and get it elsewhere, especially if you've got new subscribers, it's a very easy way to do that as well. So lots and lots of potential as it relates to AWeber and connecting it to Zapier. And as of today, Zapier has 485 applications connected to it. So chances are there is an app there that you can find that you might already use and hopefully want to connect that up to your AWeber account. So with that all said, I'll make this a little smaller. Whoops. This is my contact information. So feel free to email me anytime if you've got questions at all. If you want to go back over something that we touched on here, if you want to talk about a specific workflow, if you've just got a question about what's possible, more than happy to tackle that anytime. My personal stuff is there. The Zapier stuff at the bottom, that actually goes to the entire team, and we're pretty close to having 24/7 contact these days. So you can either email me personally or you can email that contact address, and that will actually go to everyone at Zapier. And we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might be having. Sam, how can folks get in touch with you if they've got AWeber questions?
The best place to do that is actually just help@aweber.com. We all kind of work out of the same inbox there. You can put it to my attention. I'm more than happy to help, but if I'm busy helping someone else, we're all more than qualified to kind of help you get along your way.
Thank you so much, Sam, for taking the time to kind of go through a couple of those things. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we say goodbye here?
I think the only thing I can really think of is when we're looking at our customers, particularly in AWeber, those who are integrating actively through different services are getting a much better conversion rate and growing their lists so much faster. So it's really it's a one-to-one kind of relationship that I can see that the people who are actively going out and kind of getting all the hands to talk together are really growing their list at a much higher pace.
Yeah, I think that and you guys probably hear this on a minute by minute basis, I imagine the number one question that you answer from people is just curiosity on how to grow your lists or best tips and practices and things of that nature. And I think if we look at it as it relates to all of the other things that we do and use and consume in our daily lives, especially when it comes to running our business, the more of those dots that we can connect together, the quicker our lists are going to grow and the less we actually have to think about it. So it becomes less of how do I grow my list and more of I'm going to focus on the other things in my business, and my list is just kind of automatically growing itself.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Sam, for your time today. This was a lot of fun. I hope that that people got a couple takeaways that they can use and learn. Again, contact@zapier.com is how you can get in touch with us. Help@aweber.com. Either one of us. In fact, I'm sure our teams talk to each other pretty regularly as well. So anything that you guys might need, we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And we'll also hang out. I know I at least can. We'll hang out in the chat room for as long as we need to. Make sure we get everyone's questions answered. And if you want to come back to this at any time, you can just come right back to the page you're on now. This whole video will be archived here as soon as we're done, and you can come back here, refer to it. If you scroll all the way down the page, there's actually some automations there that are pre-made that you can start using right this second. So if you saw something that we talked about today that you want to put into practice, you can do that automatically just at the bottom of the page, so you can hop right in there. So thanks again, Sam, for joining us today, and thanks everyone else. And again, give us a shout anytime. We'd be more than happy to help. Take it easy.
Thanks for having us.